Johnny Nell, and this is Artists, Makers, and Neighbors, a documentary series where we will explore the diverse backgrounds, interests, and histories of the people who walk through the doors here at DVAA. The Philadelphia art scene is an expansive space that is constantly evolving and changing, encompassing all types of art forms and artists from a diverse range of backgrounds, creating more than just art, but a community. Told through the perspective of DVAA, here's a look into local art history, today's artistic tempo, and visions of what's to come. It's funny how you said I think you used the word makeshift at some point, and that just like, it resonated with me in terms of Philly, where everything feels like, okay, I don't have enough money to go to New York, so I'm gonna stay in Philly and like make this work with what I have here, and it like almost creates this new scene, kind of. It's more DIY in a way, and I feel like you see that in all aspects of Philadelphia culture, which I think is really cool. And I like feel like that's reflected off of Da Vinci. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but
yeah, we're pretty scrappy.
Yeah.
and you have to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And that comes with some negative aspects and a lot of good ones too. And so our whole position here is making the most out of what we can here and sharing resources, sharing skills, uniting people who need to be united in a lot of ways. And we've had a lot of success in just doing what we can at that moment. And it seems like the more that we do it, the better we get at it, and the more we inspire other people to do that as well, or realize that there might not be as alone as they think they are in this kind of small, scrappy, weird art community.
Totally.
And so that's kind of the direction that I'm really kind of hoping to push Da Vinci and, by extent, larger kind of communities of artists in Philadelphia.
Well, and it's also like that article we read last year, the Title magazine article. We have a program, critical period. And last, I think like February? I don't know, sometime like last winter/spring, we read this article Title Mag put out when Common Field was here, so I think that was 2019, and they had put out this article in collaboration with this network that does similar work to Da Vinci but around the country, and they had been talking in the article about how like there is this like need for a lot of artists who come here. Like we have really good art schools, so a lot of people come here for art school and then get some type of platform for themselves, and then as soon as that happens, they run away to New York or Chicago or LA,
right?
And don't invest in the community here. So I think that's part of where the scrappiness comes from, is that like we don't have long-term investment.
Totally.
So the people who are here long-term have to kind of like fight for it to continue, even though like if people just like stayed and cared about it, it would continue. And maybe it would continue to happen in different ways.
So growing up in the Philadelphia art scene, have you seen it change at all? And if so, what does that evolution look like, and how do you feel about it?
I've always felt like the Philadelphia art scene was a very interesting intellectual art scene. I feel like it's evolved to be more younger people. I feel like Philadelphia has also been a go-to for a lot of different states right now. I guess rent has a lot to do with things. I guess just a major city, accessible city, a city it's a manageable city. So I guess that is the draw for a lot of other, people from other states coming in. In Philadelphia, it's always had a lot of people coming from other places, but I feel like lately that has been the biggest that has been a most interesting turn in the art career, in the art scene. It just seems that it's a lot of different artists here.
I've just always had a strong commitment to community. I think, early on in the 70s, as part of what was called the Old City Arts. And it was a curious and wonderful experience of, here was a neighborhood with like principally populated by artists. It was in the 70s, going to go, there's all these redevelopment plans by the city and an architecture firm. And it was just, a group of us just started thinking, well, we have to make ourselves politically present. And so it was a matter of, okay, going around rapping on all these kind of like studio doors or hanging out in bars. It was like, oh, you're the poet, or you're the dancer, or you're the musician, so started doing group performances or crossover performances. So we were then like creating. We actually did create a sense of community. The cross-discipline sharing, it was just fabulous. And again, talk about getting the engine going. There was just at the same time with this outside pressure. There was the internal conflict with artists who wanted the art group not to be so much about community, but as being a transactional opportunity to show the work. So there was that conflict I was talking about of the ego and the individuality mindset of art came into play very, very strongly. Very strongly. But it was an eye-opener that you could form a community from out of nothing. I mean, not nothing, but a group of people, find your commonality, find what is meaningful within that. And yes, you deal with the differences, but the emphasis is on, okay, what do we have in common? And we all had in common that we expressed ourselves through the arts. And so it was like, oh, you can build a community through art. So here we are, all these years later, and DVAA comes along and says, we're going to build community through art. So it's like, perfect. And I was like, wow, I'm where I should be. So yeah, it's like dream come true.
Yeah, I feel like for Philly, it would be really cool to see this, like, how it would evolve if it were more established, but also holding on to kind of that makeshift quality that everyone loves about Philly, I think, who lives here at least, and who's involved in the community. Like, that part of it is so, like, homey.
Like, one of the things we talk about a lot is, like, Old City, before it was Old City, was cheap, illegal lofts that people just stayed in without like heat or whatever, and they were able to make like whatever they wanted, right? Which is like what Kensington turned into after everyone left Old City, and like now that's being recycled into like this expensive luxury place.
Right.
And like I think it's really cool that we get to have conversations with those people here because they lost that space, but then all gravitated here and in other similar spaces, so we can still like kind of like retain that history too of like talking to them.
I know that you are involved in the dumpster divers. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us like a little bit about that and how you got connected with that group?
I got involved with the divers through my friends Brunel Yao and Betsy Alexander. And maybe they had a series of salons here at the Da Vinci sometime in the late 90s. Mm-hmm. I don't know that that was the very first time that I was here, although as I think about it, what was earlier? I don't know. That may have been the time when I first became somewhat familiar with this place, or thought this is a place to stay in touch with.
How is like your involvement with dumpster divers? How did that? What effect did that have on you in terms of like Philly and art and your creative practice?
It gave me a kind of crazy family that I didn't have because they're all not so, far removed from my own age. I'm 77 going on 78. I think probably our youngest member is now about 50. and our oldest was probably getting into his early 80s. And I became involved with them in 2005 as a result of Brunel and Betsy's advising me to join them. And I was welcomed. And it's created as I say, a connection that's kind of like a crazy family of dysfunction. We all have our dysfunctions. Such an emphasis on reusing what we've already got to work with, rather than I gotta have new materials. I gotta have spanking new and never been touched by anyone before. No, we all realize the folly of that particular path.
Yeah, that's kind of awesome too, how you guys are essentially reusing, taking trash and
trying
using
to keep
it for art.
out of the landfill, basically.
Yeah.
And I admit, I haven't crawled into a dumpster that often, very, very seldom. But I think my lamp business, or my lamp, obsession started years ago, about 20 some years ago. I was finding stuff, I'm a trash picker. If I see stuff on the sidewalk that people are throwing away, it's like, yeah, that's got some use. I take that home. And so I've accumulated a lot of lamp parts, because I would usually find them, take them home, take them apart, clean the parts that I wanted, and make something else. And at some point, I was in the basement looking at all the extra parts I had, and I thought, well, it's either time for them to go out to the sidewalk, most of which I found there, or make something new with them. And that was a whole new kind of, okay, let's try this and see what happens.
Yeah, that's so wonderful, especially in terms of just like sustainability. Like, we have a festival coming up that's all centered around sustainability, and just finding ways of like closing the loop and connecting art and sustainability, and it's gotta happen. Yeah, so that's really, really cool. What you said about like the scene being younger, I feel like I've definitely feel that after working here, where in like the 80s and 90s and 2000s, it seemed like art had a real hold in Philadelphia on like an older community, and now recently, it's like within the last 10-15 years, it's just been like a huge influx of younger people who are coming here and staying here. And it's interesting how that like ebbs and flows with each city.
Yeah, I mean, like, art can be very regional. Like, writing was regional at one time, and but I feel like there are certain pockets where a lot of people are drawn to from outside the city, and then there are artists from Philadelphia who are at peace of making Philadelphia home. I feel like it's also very diverse now. There's more females being noted. There's more people of color being noted in the art scene. So that's a huge difference. Yeah. Because it's kind of been, held, like held into like sort of a affluent, an intellectual, like scene for a while. And I don't think it was even a scene. I think it was very small, and it was linked to institutions and artists that were working at those institutions. So that was like the crux of the scene. Like, if that's an artist who is worth anything in their in their craft, where are they teaching, or is it Path, or is it Fleischer, is it So I think that's something that's changed. So I think that there's more working artists that are finding a way to make this career sustainable financially and creatively, and live in that kind of way.
It's interesting because even I've only worked at Da Vinci for about 2 years now, and even in the 2 years that I've worked here, I've seen the evolution you're talking about on like a microscopic scale, where it's like we are opening our doors up to people who maybe can't like pay to have an exhibition, and bringing in the fellowship program and the residency program, and really opening the doors up for people who are underserved. And I hope that that's like continues with other galleries as well. And I think that's like a cool part about Philly, where it's like, this is an exciting time to live here.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's an exciting time to live here. I feel like that the work is different. I feel like it's extremely diverse. I think that it's even allowed, I think, people that are coming from different generations to open up their art practice in a different way. So it's really beneficial to all.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm noticing. I mean, it's beneficial to all. I think social media plays a huge part in change. I think that we're trying to shoot for diversity on all levels, even with, age, color, race, gender is obviously something that's forward and marching. So it's just, I really do think that the scene is different because it's opened up more space for the individual.
Yeah.
So nobody has to be here all the time, but they are still part of the scene or what they're producing.
In the one back room, they were like, a couple old Italian guys would meet and do the taxes and play cards like once a month and like do the books for Da Vinci, and there was like occasional exhibits happening. So we were like trying to like we just dreamed like, what could we do?